Hello, viewers at home. What you're about to see is a recording of a Xamarin to Maui transition Q&A. We had this Q&A in mid-April of 2024, and we thought it was super important for you guys to still be able to see it, hear it. So what we've done is we've recorded it and got it out for you guys to see. So please enjoy. And if you have any Xamarin to Maui questions, we're always here to help. But if you're looking for a less personal way, we also have our Xamarin to Maui white paper that you can check out on our website. So without further ado, here's the Q&A. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Xamarin to Maui Q&A session. We really appreciate you guys coming out today. Letting us kind of share a little bit about what we've been learning, what we've seen in the kind of Xamarin and Maui space. So the plan today is that we'll be hearing from 3 of our developers. I'll let them introduce themselves in a second. But first, just to kind of do some housekeeping things, this is a live Q&A. So if you have questions or you weren't able to submit questions into the form beforehand, that's okay. Within Zoom, there is a Q&A option. So type your questions in there. I've already got questions pulled up from that form. So we should have enough questions. So if you're just looking to learn, we've got that there. But if you have something specific that you want to ask our team, please feel free to do so. I also believe I have turned on closed captions. If I didn't do that right, sorry. So if you need closed captions, please check out the caption section and turn those on. Other than that, I believe we are ready to get started. But first, can we have our developers introduce themselves?
Sure, I'll go first. Yeah, Chris Daly. I've been with Slingshot for a little over 13 years. I've been doing development for over 20 years. I've been doing mobile development for about the last 6 years, primarily with the Xamarin platform. So yeah, excited to be here.
Sweet. Glad to have you.
And,
so I can be next, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. I never guess when I can start to speak.
Yeah, me too. I'm Andrii, and I'm .NET developer, primarily focused on Xamarin and MAUI development for the last 7 years.
Sweet. All right, and last but not least.
My name is Iryna, and I'm a Xamarin developer, MAUI developer for 8 years, I think. And generally, I have been working as engineer maybe 16 years or 17 years, a lot. So, yeah.
Sweet. Got a lot of different, got a wide group here, all mobile experts. So really excited to hear more from you guys. But first, I guess the first question, which is, why are we here today? So essentially, what is going on with Xamarin? And why are we talking about Xamarin and Maui today? That could be anybody.
All right, I'll jump in on that one. Yeah, so Xamarin it's been a great platform for mobile development, cross-platform development. But it was originally started by another group outside of Microsoft. Microsoft took it on, and I think kind of what they have been doing as of late is kind of taking a look at it as companies are wont to do, and kind of take inventory and say, okay, it's been a while, it's been around a while. What improvements can we make, right? And that's kind of what they've done, is they've made some decisions to make some pretty big changes, and it was big enough that they've given it a whole new product name, right? It's and they've rebranded it as Maui. So now it moving forward will be known as Maui. Xamarin will be no more, even though really it's kind of more of an update with a lot of breaking changes than it is kind of an entirely new thing. So Iryna or Andrii, you want to jump in and add any more to that?
Yeah, and now we can use all .NET features, and it's different. It's a totally different project structure, so it changes a lot.
Okay.
And yeah, all approach. Yeah.
Especially what is like the core of Xamarin Forms, it's how our UI is rendered. We have totally new approach in Maui, which requires some time to adapt, to learn something new, to successfully apply in Maui.
Okay. Sweet. Well, that was great to kick off. Covered a lot there. But I guess to immediately go against Maui, why would people not take this opportunity now to move to a different language? So we talk about how Xamarin and Maui are very similar. Chris, you said it's essentially just an upgrade. But why wouldn't someone kind of go ahead and jump the Microsoft ship and switch to something like Google's Flutter or maybe native development?
Sure. I mean, so I would answer that by saying, maybe that is something you should look at, but when you're doing that analysis, take into account all the things that you would normally take into account when you're looking at what direction to go for any technology, right? So look around. What are the skill sets you already have in house? What investments have you already made, right? What's going to be the cost of switching to those other things versus just continuing along the Microsoft path, right? And I think for some people it may make sense to switch. Other people it may make sense to just stay the course, right? Probably for more, I would suspect for more people it would probably make sense to just stay the course, right? Because you probably already have lots of .NET developers around, or at least some that are managing that Xamarin app. It's, as I said earlier, it's more of an upgrade than sort of a major shift. So upgrading to Maui versus completely rewriting in Flutter, or going true native or whatever, those are going to be a much larger investment. But yeah, I mean, everybody probably should take the opportunity to make that analysis, but look at the whole picture when you're doing that.
Sweet. Yeah, anything to add?
Of course, yeah. Of course, it takes lot of time if you will rewrite, especially on natives. You can multiply on 4 or 5 times in compare with Maui or Xamarin or any cross-platform application, and it costs money, of course. And I want to mention that previous year, 2023, C# was the first language, the most popular language in the world. So,
Wow.
Yeah, we can choose this and select different.
Sweet. Anything, Andrii, to add?
I guess Iryna and Chris covered everything.
Yeah, great job, guys. That was a great example of kind of all of the options, but making sure that you don't evaluate just one thing, but everything involved. So to touch on maybe less background, more what are we doing now? So the Maui transition. So again, we've been saying it, transitioning from Xamarin to Maui is what seems like the best option. There may be other options out there for you, but today we're going to be focusing on that Xamarin to Maui transition. So I guess firstly, and again, anybody can tackle this, but what is a good approach when it comes to actually migrating from Xamarin to Maui? Like, what should the first step be? What are things to keep in mind for somebody that's getting just started?
Yeah.
Can start?
So
Okay. Now it's your turn.
okay. Let's go next time. Rock, scissors, paper.
Perfect.
So Microsoft released some extension for Visual Studio Upgrader to make some like heavy lifting, which can be do automatically for application. Obviously, it not going to resolve everything, but I guess it's a good start. I would recommend to do this like side by side approach. So there we can do like immediately rewrite our solution, or like create copy of existing and then apply needed changes. I would rather do it side by side, find some substitution for packages, or make sure that we have packages that compatible with .NET with current version, which is required for MAUI, and then step by step replace those packages. And I guess the last step would be to rewrite renderers with handlers. And take a look of what's wrong, what's damaged, what's broken, and try to fix
That's
it.
important. Iryna or Chris, anything to add?
I'll just underscore, yeah, for sure. The first step would be, I would think, I agree with Andrii, would be to use that upgrade tool that they provide. You can even, before you do the upgrade, even run it just in report mode where it won't actually do the steps. It'll do analysis and then sort of spit out a report and kind of show you which NuGet packages and things that it would upgrade or change. So that's a great first step in just, if you're at the very beginning and you just want to start planning, right? So that'll kind of give you a good overview of what the impact will be, and then kind of the overall effort moving forward. So,
All right. Moving into some of the challenges. So based on what you guys have been saying, it sounds like it's relatively easy to transition from Xamarin to MAUI. But it can't be super easy, or else no one would be wanting to know how to transition from Xamarin to MAUI. So are there any technical challenges that you guys have seen or that you guys have heard of from other developers when they're transitioning from Xamarin to MAUI? And maybe how do we avoid those challenges?
So about challenges, what I can say, actually, it's not super hard to make a transition, but in 100%, I can definitely say we will have some UI changes, some UI fixes. It will be, and some, for example, some renderers we have to rewrite to handlers, absolutely, because they have some issues. So not all renderers has backward compatibility.
Okay. While we're on that topic, maybe can we talk a little bit about like the libraries? I know like there are currently some issues where things that exist in Xamarin don't currently exist in MAUI. So can you guys talk a little bit about one, why that's an issue, and two, maybe how do we tackle said issue if the stuff we need doesn't exist yet?
well, I mean, just as a part of your planning process, right? You're going to want to take a look at that and see if you're using a lot of out of the box stuff. I think most of that is covered at this point, right? A lot of the concern that I would have, and that we do have when we get into these, is looking at third parties, right? Because you're not just sort of you're not just updating some NuGet packages, or you're also moving to the latest .NET, right? So the things, those third party components are going to have to support all of that as well. And so sometimes it can be a challenge if those third-party dependencies haven't been updated yet. That should become less and less true as time goes on, right? But it's definitely something you want to do as part of your planning process, to see which parts of your system aren't currently supported, and then you're going to have to make a decision what to do about it, right?
Yeah.
You always have the option of dropping those dependencies and then writing that code yourself, right? So that's probably worst case scenario, right? Hopefully there's some replacement for them if they haven't been updated already. So
Awesome.
And I want to add that, for example, often I faced the cases when some third-party, like open source repository, was abandoned, but initial owner, but with MAUI release, somebody from community just take this responsibility for him itself, migrate this and support this. On my current project, I use at least several such packages which previously exist in Xamarin, then was abandoned, and then again migrated and supported. So it handled pretty good right now because of it's like 2 years from like production release of MAUI itself.
Oh, right, because it's been Maui isn't like just popping up. It's something that's been around for a second, long enough that it's stable, so you don't got to worry about like it's a brand new language that could never like get to a safe point, but it's already kind of at that point. Okay, so
yeah,
we
definitely.
talked. Oh yes, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say definitely. Yeah, it's effectively on its 2.5 release, basically, is how you can think of it, right? It probably came out a little sooner than it needed to, but you know, so yeah, it's not bleeding edge at this point. So like I said, if you're just doing a lot of just standard Xamarin straight out of the box, not a lot of third-party stuff, then all of that should transfer over pretty nicely at this point. So
All right, good to know. So we talked about the upgrade assistant as being obviously very important. It's definitely the easiest tool. But I know that Microsoft and a lot of other kind of leaders in the .NET community have been creating a lot of resources and content. So I was just curious if there was any resources or any tools that you guys would recommend or think are important for people to check out as they're kind of on this journey of transitioning. Iryna?
Like everything we need, we have in official documentation on Microsoft side. There are pretty extensive docs about how to do this migration manually, step by step, covered every possible breaking change which can occur in application, especially listing of how layouting systems is changed, how some default values for controls is changed, and so on.
And YouTube, of course, James Montemagno. I like his video and I used his tutorial for migrating, and it works.
Awesome.
And technical documentation for sure.
All right. So now coming out of the technical stuff, talking about kind of timeline and planning. So as of recording, we are about halfway, a little bit past halfway through April. And the idea is that Xamarin support is going to officially end May 1st. So we are very, very close, if not already to the point where Xamarin support has ended, is ending. So what is kind of the recommended timeline for people to go ahead and start the migration process? Obviously, they don't need to have it done at May 1st, or else we'd all be in a lot of trouble. But what does that timeline actually look like?
Sure, yeah. So the biggest driving factor that you're going to have is the limitations that the App Store has put in place, right? In terms of how quickly you have to adopt the latest versions of their SDKs and OSs, right? For Apple, that's usually 6 months ish, right? Within the month that they release their updates, right? You have approximately 6 months to support that
Okay.
new version, right? After that 6 months, every new version you push to the store has to support the new version, right? And similarly with Google, they're a little bit more lenient, their approach currently, and all of this is subject to change depending on when folks are watching this. Their current policy is 2 years, so they don't want you to fall more than 2 years behind on their updates, so you have a little bit more leeway. Now, Google does also require you to push at least one update to your apps in any 12-month period, so otherwise they're going to consider your developer account dormant. And again, all of that is subject to change in the future, but that's the current policy. So it kind of makes sense that if you're going to push a change, you probably should just go ahead and update to the latest OS if you're not doing anything else in your app, at least. But those policies, right? Those update policies are probably the biggest thing to keep your eye on in terms of Maui, because Xamarin will no longer be updated, or probably will no longer be updated past May. So in 2024, when those OS updates come out later this year, as they always do, Xamarin will probably not be updated to support those, right? So you pretty much have to go to Maui if you're going to stay on the Microsoft platforms in order to update your apps going forward. So
yeah. And if I remember correctly, now I'm not the technical expert, if you couldn't tell, but this is the kind of Apple and Google haven't said anything specifically. We're basing kind of all of this on past, like what's happened in the past with other languages depreciated, correct?
in terms of those deadlines, or those deadlines are regardless of what platform you're writing in, right? So if you're going native, if you're doing Flutter, if you're doing Kotlin multi-platform, Cordova, any of those, doesn't matter what you write your app in, those deadlines are apply to you. So if you put a mobile app in the app stores, regardless of how they're written, they apply to you. So
okay,
yeah. And does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Andrii, Iryna, anything to add about the app stores, specifically with Xamarin or Maui?
Regarding to app stores, Chris tell us everything, but if you want to migrate to Maui, you have to do it, for example, ASAP, I think, and you should think about if you should think about Xamarin, if your application is stable on Xamarin, and for example, if you need to add some functionality and fix some bugs, you should do it from start on Xamarin application, and after that, you have to take stable version and migrate it. It will decrease your time for development and future bugs.
Yeah. Definitely decreasing time is very time, cost, all the above. Very important to try and keep as limited as possible. All right. So even farther out of the technical realm, we're going to talk about more on the business side of things. So obviously, we just talked about the importance of transitioning from a technical perspective. Your apps not being in the App Store, big deal if it's a mobile app. But what are maybe some of the more potential risks that a business might see if they keep trying to use Xamarin past the support period? Is there anything business-wise, or is this mostly a technical issue?
Well, if app is not available on markets, it's definitely business issue,
Yeah.
not just technical issue.
That would make sense.
And to clarify that point, right? We're just talking about updates at that point. So if you already have a Xamarin app installed on your phone, it's not like in early 2025 for Apple at least. It's not like they're not gonna just reach in and grab it from you. It'll stay on there and still work. But you certainly won't be able to update it anymore, right? And the other risk, which is probably just as big, is just security, right? If you're not updating your app, then you're not closing security gaps and things and vulnerabilities that are found, right? So that's certainly a pretty big risk, and that's the main driver behind Google's policy, right? In terms of requiring you to provide at least one update every year, right? Because they're just trying to improve the quality of the apps in their stores. And an app that's not being actively maintained is going to, among other reasons or other effects, will be an insecure app long term, right?
Yeah, definitely. Security is a big thing, especially in the year of 2024. We're seeing more and more security issues with software, so definitely something to keep in mind. Andrii, Iryna, anything to add? No? Okay, sweet. Well, that actually already takes us at time here. I know we covered quite a bit today, but just wanted to kind of ask each of you, is there anything we didn't cover that you think is important to call out? Or what do you think was the most important thing that we talked about today that you think would be, if they could leave with only one piece of advice here, what would you want that to be? Iryna?
Okay. The most important thing I think is a time. You should start to do it now, or maybe yesterday.
That's everything with software though, right? You should have started it yesterday.
Yeah.
All right, Andrii?
Well, I totally agree with Iryna. As soon as possible.
Sweet. Okay. And last but not least, Chris, are we going to get something different, or are you on the same page?
So I mean, you could delay. Just put all your efforts into making a time machine, and then you don't have to worry about time, right? So that's
the advice. Build a time machine so you don't have to.
My advice is, my advice would be, it's maybe an extension of that, but come up with a plan, right? Don't just jump into it. Certainly leverage that upgrade assistant and do the analysis and come up with a plan. But yes, now is the time to be doing that, so that you're not, you don't find yourself with your back against the wall, early in 2025, where you need to get a critical update out, but you're being blocked because, you can't update to the latest version of iOS. So.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Your expertise and knowledge has been super helpful, even to me. So if anything else, you guys have taught me a lot more than I already knew. Viewers at home, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you were able to get something out of this conversation, whether maybe some new technical information, some new business strategies. If nothing else, know that you got to go now as opposed to in the future. But if you want to learn more about the Xamarin to Maui transition, please check out our white paper. The three developers here really helped out building that. So we really appreciate that help. But if you're looking for something more in depth, specifically links to the YouTuber Iryna was talking about, those are in there. But really everything from why this is happening, steps to do it, and maybe some challenges you'll face along the way. We highly recommend checking that out. Other than that, we again thank you so much for your time and hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you again, everybody, for watching the Q&A post recording. So we hope you enjoyed and learned a lot. As we said at the end of the Q&A, and I said before, if you're looking for more information, check out the Xamarin to Maui white paper that we have on our website, or you can always reach out and we'd be happy to at least answer some questions. Other than that, have a good day, and thank you again for watching.